it was interesting to listen to my thoughts in those moments, or reflect now, especially back on my thoughts in those moments.
Because we buy into the marketing,
Yep.
And don't get me wrong, marketers are really smart.
That is the one thing out of everything here that you're going to take away. And welcome to Love Always Self. I'm Shyra.
Hi, y'all. I'm Karista, and thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Love Always Self.
Hi.
It's a beautiful day out, at least here in Austin, Texas, which is nice because it's been like days and days and days of cloudiness. So
I know. Hey, and welcome new subscribers. Our count went up quite a bit since our last episode, and we are extremely grateful.
That was amazing to watch.
Yeah, it was. I was like, I should probably respond to comments.
So we quite literally celebrate every new subscriber.
We do.
For sure.
We do. We really do. Our gratitude is extremely high. So thank you so much. We're happy to know that we are helping you in any way possible. And by doing that, you're helping us, and we love it. So thank you. Thank you.
Welcome. We love you already. You don't need to do anything special to receive that love. It's just already there. It's inherent.
Yeah. So let's do a quick catch up since it's been a minute. How you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. Had a pretty fun weekend. We got to go on a date night on Friday, so that was really nice. Usually our date nights consist of going to eat, and it's just like a change of scenery for something that you already do. And so we actually went to a comedy show, saw Craig Robinson, who is Daryl from The Office. He was also in Hot Tub Time Machine and like Zack and Miri Make a Porno, and, quite a few others, Brooklyn Nine-Nine. And he was just absolutely hilarious, and we had a great time. And so it was really nice to do something different. It felt special. It was joyful. It was full of just like laughter. And so it was really nice to get out and do that together as a couple.
That's amazing. I love Craig Robinson. I've had the pleasure of hanging out with him in person, and mostly because I know his brother, but he's a really fun and sweet character. So yeah. Good individual. That had to have been amazing because his lives are absolutely epic.
It was. I didn't know what to expect, and he used the keyboard throughout his whole bit, and he played so many songs. So I was already impressed by his like musical skill that I didn't really realize he had or had garnered. And so that was really fun because he had the whole audience singing to all the songs and just making fun of us, like as we were singing, like we didn't know the words or whatever it was, just making fun of the audience. And it was great. It was so much fun.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. For me, I just got back from Sayulita, Mexico, and I went there for a friend's bachelorette party. And I tell you what, it's definitely different celebrating in your 40s than it was in my 20s. So I definitely go to bed sooner than I think I thought I would have going. I didn't last as long, but what a beautiful place. I had no idea that the amount of expats that live there now, but it's beautiful. It's magical. The people are friendly, and it felt so safe. And I shouldn't be shocked by that, but it felt safe. And it was a great time. And that actually kind of rolls into the topic that we want to have today. And a lot of, the topic that we wanted to have today is about happiness and what that means to you. And so reflecting on that trip, there was this moment at the end of the trip, the very last dinner, and we had experienced all these things. Like, first of all, there was 9 of us girls in total, including the bride and myself, and not a single one of us didn't get along. There was not a single moment of anyone bickering between one another, any disagreements. Everyone just flowed so well. And the amount of laughter that we experienced, it was just phenomenal. So thank you, ladies, for that if you're listening. And on the last night, we're sitting there and having dinner, and we're on the street. Like, literally our table is at the edge of the sidewalk to this street. And off to the corner that I'm facing, at least off to my left side, there was this guy in drums and this woman singing on a microphone. So the whole, area was just lit up with music. And there were songs that everybody knew, right? She sang Selena a little bit too, which was like, so amazing. And everyone's just like singing along. You can hear this entire road, like, and all the people sitting out there. There's all these couples sitting at this really romantic spot with these vines like hanging from the ceiling of every ounce of this restaurant. It was so pretty. The lighting, the colors on all the banners that are hanging up above. Fire dancer doing his thing in the middle of the street. It was just magic. And so I had a moment where I was sitting here and I'm watching this. I'm feeling this, like, she started singing this really like slower song. And it was really kind of like it's like an emotional song.
Like a moody.
Yeah, it was more
song.
moody, right? And as she's singing this song, I'm looking around and I'm seeing all of our beautiful, colorful drinks on the table, this and delicious food, like nothing to complain about. Everyone's like laughing and carrying on within their like story sharing. And, and I recognize that the entire point of us being here is to celebrate love, is to celebrate my friend who is getting married because she fell in love with a man. And it brought us all together. Love literally brought us all together. And I started crying and everyone's like, why are you crying? And I was like, don't ask me why I'm crying. It just makes it worse, And I was like, this is so magic.
Because I'm so happy.
I'm so happy.
Yeah.
I was so happy. And a lot of it, there was a lot to do with like, I don't have any responsibility besides having a good time. Mm-hmm. My responsibility was to enjoy myself and enjoy the company and celebrate. And that was huge, I think. And so for me, reflecting on moments like that, or even being present in moments like that, it really does put a huge emphasis on what it is that brings me happiness or brings me joy. And I think about all the things that lead up to those moments sometimes. That's when my logical brain decides to like go on a joyride. And I think about all the things that brought me to that point, right? The stressful hours in work that I don't really enjoy. The creativity process of the things that you and I are creating that allow me to have these like expansive moments of like, ooh, I can make that, those types of things definitely bring me joy. Our ability to sit in this room, record this podcast, talk to an audience, get to know you guys in the comments, like know that we're helping others and building a community while doing it. Those things bring me joy. But at the core base of it all, it's the relationships,
the connections.
Exactly.
I was just thinking that exact word, connection, when you were talking or describing that experience in Sayulita, sitting on the side of the road, listening to the music, watching people dancing and singing along from all different walks of life that are enjoying their own little aspects of that experience. And then the connection that is created in that moment by music, and just lacing everybody together, no matter their own little stories that they were experiencing, it brought everybody into that one experience together. It created that connection. And I think that's really beautiful. Yeah,
I do remember sitting, I recognize that the restaurant on our side of this cobblestone street, fantastic. Not to walk in flats with thin layer shoes, but other than that, beautiful to look at. And like, I remember everybody at the table, there were more like bistro style tables at the restaurant across the street. And it was all couples. I probably could have counted like 15 different tables and they were all couples. And it did make me miss my husband. And I was like, oh, this would be so romantic, And so he brings me a lot of joy too and happiness. And, watching those interactions, being able to perceive it in the first place and acknowledge it and be aware of it was quite magic, to be honest with you. The sense of freedom. We went horseback riding I've never ridden a horse before. That was wild.
Being from Texas, you're a rarity.
I know.
I think.
I know. I had a one moment, I think, when I was like 5, but I'm pretty positive it was a pony. So, but I've never been on a full-grown horse before. That's for sure. And I'll tell you a funny story about that because it's just freaking hilarious. But there's this moment where the instructor's like making us sit in a row to, he brings out his horse and he's showing us what to do with the lasso and all that stuff. And he goes, okay, so
Are you talking about the reins?
The reins, I'm sorry, the reins.
I was
lasso.
like, were you lassoing things?
See, this is why you don't give Shyra a horse. So the lasso, it's the reins. And he's like, which one of you has the least amount of experience? And everyone, the whole group was like, Shyra. And I was like, oh, thanks, guys. And he was like, okay, you're first. And I was like, oh, no. I know I don't want to try to mount a horse, 200 plus pounds of a woman and and do this in front of everybody. So I was like, hey, can I have a step stool? Please don't make me try to climb that.
I think that was wise already asking for that in the first place.
So he was sweet. He's like, of course. And I was like, so how do I do this? And he's like, put your foot in here and then use your other leg and swing it around. I did it. I didn't fall off the other side of this horse. We were good. But then he walks the horse with me on it all the way away from everybody else to start lining us up. So, but where he stops my horse, he goes, okay, you just stay here. And I'm like, are you talking to me or the horse? Because he's kind of in control right now, right? And I'm on him, And he stops me in this gravel road. But it's the entrance to this facility. And it's a big facility. And it's got a whole lot of other things going on there besides the horses. And so he starts walking away. And I was like, where are you going? And this man's name is Ricky. He told us to call him Ricky Bobby. I think he was messing with us. But either way, I start yelling, Ricky Bobby, where are you going? And he's like laughing. And he's like, I'll be right back. And I'm like, okay. So I don't know what to do. I paid attention. He only gave us one round of instructions, I was like, I don't know what to do with this horse. And this guy, and so actually before that happened, I remember hearing from people because, I do live in Texas, so I do know some stories about horse riding. And I remember everyone saying that you got to connect with your horse, and that they can feel when you're scared. And it affects them. Mm-hmm. So I was like, you know what? I got this. We meditate all the time. We tell other people to do meditation. You're going to calm yourself down, woman, and so I'm sitting on top of a horse and I start closing my eyes and the horse's name was Cappuccino, just beautiful. Anyway, and I closed my eyes and I was like, oh, okay, Cappuccino, you and I are best friends and I love you and you're not going to buck me off and we're going to have a really good time today and you're going to take care of me and I'm going to pet you and oh, you're so beautiful. And and this is what's going through my head with my eyes closed on top of a horse sitting in the middle of a driveway. And all of a sudden I hear a horn honk and I look to my left and this man has pulled up you're in the way of the driveway. And he's staring at me like, can you move? And, and mind you, he's hand gesturing. And I look at him and I barely pivot my body because I was too scared to actually turn fully around. And I throw my hands in the air and I yell, I don't know how to move this thing. What do you want me to do? And he stares at me back and he looks like, oh, crap. And he's like, you're good. You're good. Hand in the air. Just you're good.
Never mind.
Just never mind. I'm good. I can wait. Because clearly there's a stressed out woman on a horse that doesn't know how to operate it, right? And this man just proceeds to look down at his cell phone like, we're good. Don't worry about it. Just stay right there.
Yeah.
And I'm turning a little bit and I'm like, Ricky Bobby, come move this horse, Ricky Bobby. And far off in the distance, I can hear people chuckling, Shyra's yelling on a horse. That sounds normal. So yeah, but man, going through a jungle, because you have to go through a jungle before you exit out into this beautiful beach, which is the same beach from Bachelor in Paradise, which I saw the Bachelor in Paradise house and I was completely giddy. But going through this jungle, I wasn't scared. I was a little intimidated because the jungle is massive and the trees are so tall. It's like when you get up to a really tall mountain, you have this slight intimidation, right? But it was so magic. The freedom and the amount of energy that surrounded that moment, it brought me so much joy and happiness. And I had no idea that that was going to be the kind of experience that I was going to like perceive at that point. But I thought it was going to be a lot of fear, to be honest with you. But as soon as I let go of the fear and I just enjoyed it and I let it flow, that was when I was able to actually perceive the amount of happiness and just realize what I was surrounded with, which was just epic. I mean, we even got up to like an actual trot on a beach and everything. Which
Check out that decision making that you did.
Yeah.
Without even necessarily like thinking about the decisions, right?
Yeah.
Like you could have gone full-fledged left into fear or, you know, do what you did and do the meditation and allow yourself to be open to having a good experience rather than being so sure that it was going to be a fearful, bad experience.
That's so true. Honestly, that's so true because I remember saying this to you and definitely several other people at my job and some of the girls. My number one concern was the perception of others when getting on that horse before going into it. And like looking back at it now, I kept repeating, I'm scared about, or I'm fearful about getting on the horse for the first time. Like, am I going to just flop on over on the other side of the horse from where I get on? Or, you know, am I going to like really like try to jump and I can't get up? And I think a lot of it had to do with an insecurity in me about my size and other people seeing that. But it was interesting to listen to my thoughts in those moments or reflect now, especially back on my thoughts in those moments of the things that I allowed to block my potential of happiness, which I think a lot of us do. I think a lot of us really feel like we can't do something, you know, and we're shocked when it happens.
Right. Or you have to set an expectation to meet a certain goal or achievement to allow yourself to experience that happiness.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. You know,
I do think Ricky Bobby was wise, though, at bringing you on first because you didn't have time to sit there and ruminate about the fear.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. He's like, come on up. The water's fine.
Right. And specifically about mounting the horse, right? You didn't watch other people do it first.
That's true. I think especially like there's video of each person getting on the horse and there were some that literally look like light as a feather just jumping right up on those things. And if I had saw that first, I would have been even more self-conscious about it. So yeah, I'm actually quite glad that.
Good job, Ricky Bobby.
Yeah, that's true. But you know, the inspirational aspect of all of this though, is that because I recognized and I became aware of what those thoughts were and what was holding me back, I'm now making a conscious effort to take better care of myself. So that's not something I have to think about in the future. So that fear can just be gone. And that's not like even in my awareness in those moments or before those moments. So I learned my lesson. There we go.
Taking responsibility can be tough for sure.
Yeah, I can.
And, you know, leading into the happiness discussion, I think responsibility in general can, you know, it can both add to and take away from the ability to see the joys and the happiness that surrounds you in your life.
I agree.
You know, and one of the things that I equate or connect responsibility to is when we are making a lot of money. And so I know that is something that people will say a lot is, well, if I'm rich, then I can be happy. You know, once I make that $1 million, well, that's probably when I'll be happy or experience happiness. And the catch-22 with that is when you start making more money, you start spending up on more things. And then all of a sudden these material items become responsibilities that you have to take care of.
Yeah. And then your entire happiness starts becoming grounded in materialistic items. Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong. I think that financial security can be very helpful in relieving a lot of stress that can interfere with the experience of happiness.
Oh, yeah.
Like that,
Yeah.
that to me, like financial stability to me is helpful to make me feel more secure. And again, kind of clear the way to focus on the present moment and the things that bring me joy. But if I'm not saying that an abundance of money is actually what will make somebody happy, but rather maybe the experiences that you can get or buy with that money.
Yeah. No, I agree. I will say, for me, I started off lower middle class, right? Lower. Going out into my own, I
Are you talking
was
about as an adult or when you were
a
raised?
kid.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, as a kid being raised, my parents are beautiful and they gave us everything, they could do it. And and we had a nice home and none, perceivably were definitely in that middle class range, but it was a lot of paycheck to paycheck living. And I carried that into my adulthood. It was increasingly, as getting older, harder to live in a city like Austin, and the rent always going up, but the pay never going up with it. And I think it still stays that way, honestly, today. But before I started in the corporation area that I'm in now, I didn't. I was paycheck to paycheck. And there were times that I had to borrow from friends or hide my car in a garage so it didn't get repoed. And, it was awful. It was absolutely awful. Some of that was my own doing, where in order to escape my reality, I was drinking and spending money on that instead of like taking care or saving,
Yeah.
And so there's a good amount of joy that I had though in those times. The amount of fun that I had during those years, I definitely feel like I felt more free back then than I do now. And now that I do make a pretty good living and I don't have financial worry right now, I'm and that I'm grateful for. And it's not grateful because it got handed to me. It's grateful that I worked my ass off to get here, and a bit of a self-proud type
Yeah.
situation, but I'm definitely more stressed out. I definitely have way more responsibility than I think I want. And
Your connections to other people have been affected as well.
my connections to other people have been drastically affected. I don't see my friends very often. I don't see my family very often. I can afford trips whenever I want to, but I can't take time to do it. I don't make the time to do it.
That's such a conundrum.
It is. And so, was watching this video. I'm going to link it down below because it was actually really good. It's only like 23 minutes of your life to learn a pretty significant amount of information. And it was based off of the Harvard study of adult development that started back in 1938. And there's this guy that's doing street interviews and asking questions like, what does happiness mean to you? And a lot of them had mentioned the money factor that you were talking about. And then on top of that, there was towards the end where they go back and they say more so what the happiness factor was. And a lot of people said my relationships. And they also talk about the study of being in a good relationship or being surrounded by those that you are happy with, the connections with others.
Those that you can trust and rely on and be real with and even open up and share things that are personal and,
Right.
stressful or upsetting and, feeling safe
Yeah. Yeah.
with them.
Absolutely. And how, and I'm looking at notes down here, but how two of the biggest takeaways was taking care of your physical health and relationships that keep us happier or feeling well connected to others.
And to clarify, it's not a quantity of relationships, but the quality of relationships.
Yes.
So people like, we hear about the introverts and the extroverts all the time. And this study I thought was really interesting because they said that neither one had a more significant risk of being unhappy. It's just the extroverts may have more friendships, that are meaningful, whereas the introverts may have a smaller group that are meaningful.
Right.
But they're still both quantifiably similar as far as their happiness level. It's just some people really re-energize with more people.
Yeah, I agree.
Neither one is wrong.
And that's something I see a difference of in even my own personal growth, right? Is I had an abundant amount of people that I was surrounded by every other night or every weekend. I was known for that, like always being in like large groups of individuals, and we had a really good time, and I love all of those people. But my smaller now community of friends and including you, but I have much more in-depth relationships.
They're more intimate.
And I feel more satisfied now than I did back then. Otherwise I wouldn't have been drinking to fill the gap like I was, right? So, that's something to really consider, like.
Sorry, I was also thinking about, in my past too, in my 20s, it was like we had to put on this mask of, well, who are we to these people? And you had to present yourself in a way in hopes that you would be accepted. And now it's like, I don't have to wear makeup. If I didn't shower, then you're not going to judge me. You're not going to push me out the front door.
No.
And, you may spray some body spray.
I was like,
some Febreze on me, but
I might get you a couple squirts, but
But as an example, it's like you don't have to prepare and present yourself in a way that's not naturally you.
Yeah, that's absolutely
And so
true.
it's the ability to be more authentic.
Had you asked me 7 years ago, maybe like 5 even, would I ever go on camera and post something so public and not be wearing an ounce of makeup or having my hair perfected in any way or having the right exact outfit that I wanted to present to somebody else, whether it was comfortable for me or not? No way back then would I have said that that's the kind of person I'd be today. And I'd be that comfortable.
I am remembering. So we are actually going to do a additional segment today.
Yes.
And to I guess introduce that, which we'll do later. It's about joyful news. So like small stories or big stories that are happy and promote positivity and joy and connection. We're tired of seeing all the negative news all the time. So, and I feel like while there are articles and platforms that sometimes share these things, it's not as easily available. Like I had to search.
Yeah.
But you had brought one up, which we'll link later and talk about it in more in depth. But it was basically talking about how the name brand clothing, it doesn't bring happiness.
Yeah.
And people get judged all the time on, oh, do you have a Louis Vuitton purse? Or, have you spent enough money so you can actually look at the purses at Hermes? I've never been in that store, but I just heard a story from another friend that you have to get invited to go shopping, I guess, there.
I didn't know that. Is that true?
She was not allowed to look at purses because she had to buy a certain amount of money's worth of purchases to be allowed to even look at the purses. You have to be invited to look at the purses.
God,
I know. Okay. It was too much for me.
Come on, dude.
I'm a Ross shopper. I am a TJ Maxx girl. Like, I have no problem.
Hello, Target.
I still have clothes from 10, 15 years ago that I wear. They are back in style now.
I can't even tell you how old this shirt is. If you even go on any of my social media posts from like decades ago, I think this shirt was in there.
Like, as long as I feel good,
yeah,
and I'm comfortable, then great.
Yeah.
I am happy with it. But I think it's just interesting, like all of these like limitations, I guess, to feel like we will be allowed to be accepted.
Yeah.
That society puts on us.
Well, and it's not even just that, but the limitations that society does put on us, but that we allow.
And that we buy into.
Yeah.
Because we buy into the marketing.
Yep.
And don't get me wrong, marketers are really smart. They are taught psychology, how to market to people based on emotions, and how to make people feel like they need to have things to be happy, to be successful, to have a good life. And the thing is like, those are all choices. And that makes it sound so simple, but it really is.
You know, part of what this young kid was saying in this video, in this positive story that I loved, is that he was like, who cares what you've put on, right? Who cares what you're wearing? 25 years from now, probably won't even fit. He's like, but it was up here. It was what's in your brain, you know? And while he was saying that, I also was like, it's also here in your heart.
100%. I was thinking the same thing.
And so does it make you happy? Do you find joy in what you're doing and what you're experiencing and what you're wearing and how you do your hair? Do you want to change your mind and do it something completely different or something you've never done before? Will that bring excitement into your life? Will it feel like creativity? Does that bring you joy to do those types of things? Does that make you happy? Or are you maybe somebody that likes the exact same thing on a daily basis and that simplicity in your life, and that's what makes you happy? Whatever it is, however it rolls through, these are the types of things that I'm talking about. These are what I would like all of us to experience more often. I would love to sit at a table more often and witness connections like I did in Mexico.
And that's really like the meat of it, right? Is this whole 20-minute video or 23-minute video that is linked below. It was all about the importance of those deeper connections, those relationships. And it doesn't have to be male, female, or marriage or whatever it is. But there was some support that those people have greater longevity. We have some arguments against, or some thoughts behind it. But, you know, variables. There we go. Some potential variables that we're like, well, which they did say if you were in an unhappy relationship, then that really, you know, is not going to.
The caveat was solid. Yeah.
It's not going to improve your longevity. But, you know, it's when that video was playing, I was thinking about some of the moments where I felt overwhelmed with love. And it wasn't just like on one-on-one relationships for the most part. It was experiences of groups together.
Yeah.
You know, whether it was my bachelorette party dinner, you know, like four years ago. And another one was even just a bridal shower that we had at my mom's house, and how I felt just loved by the people that were there. Now, granted, that was at the beginning of the pandemic, so there were some other stressors that were there. Yeah. But what mattered most in those moments was the support and the care that I felt by people showing up in my life. And how grateful that I was, you know, to have those connections.
I felt the same way, like on my birthday party. I think I even said that, like, while everyone was here, that I didn't want gifts. I just wanted that. I just wanted the presence.
And isn't that funny? Because I remember growing up and my mom would be like, I don't want any gifts. I just want to, you know, hang out with you. I just want quality time. And we I know I really didn't understand that then. And now it's like, oh,
yeah.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Right.
Right. And I think about, you know, on the thought process of the spiritual community that we are in, right? And all the things that I've been shown, not of this physical form, that is the one thing out of everything here that you're going to take away. You're going to take away that feeling of love. You're going to take away the experiences that you've had and how you journeyed through this life. And so that makes me excited, slightly terrified for all the shit things that I've done in my life as well, to like replay that and feel it from somebody else. But like, you know, hey, I'm doing the best I can. So
I think too, once we get to that point though, elevated,
different perspective,
or different perspective, it's not going to be so much shame. It's going to be more of, oh, I understand now.
Right. Right.
I can hold compassion.
Absolutely.
For, you know, why things went the way they did, or why I reacted that way even. And just it's going to be a completely different perspective. There will be no fear about it.
I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think that fear is even in that type of vibration. But, I do think that it helps sometimes to remember that, to remember what I've seen in that dimension, right? Or how I've experienced it. And it also helps me try and see things from other people's perspectives as they're happening. I can't always say I stick to that. Had a moment earlier today where I definitely didn't stick to that. So,
and I'm thinking about a story that I've shared before, an event that I experienced probably like 2015, so like 8 years ago. My mom and I were flying back from Europe, and we got stuck in the Atlanta airport. Everything shut down. We ended up having to spend the night in the airport rather than getting a flight home because there was a fire somewhere in the airport. And so everything shut down, the restaurants, the lights. You couldn't, the hand washing your hands was not really working well, because everything was automatic.
no.
And so with the electricity off, it was just kind of like, well, all right.
Oh, no. I never thought of that.
Yeah, being pre-pandemic, there wasn't a whole lot of hand sanitizer around either. But anyways, the most, probably one of my favorite life experiences thus far was being stuck in that airport.
Oh, wow.
And it was, I think, around like November or October, so just before the holidays. And this was like, it didn't matter what background you were from. We were all stuck in this airport from everywhere in the country, and this was an international airport, so probably all over the world. And it was like the playing field was leveled. We were all just people in this experience together. It didn't matter our backgrounds. And, the plugs, the electrical outlets, only one every 100 yards was working. And so literally like a group of, I think it was like 20 to 30 people, and it grew and shrank throughout the time that we were sitting there. We were all huddled around this one electrical outlet. And I had, I'm sure this was really safe, but either way, I, had connected a bunch of electronics, kind of piggybacking so we could all charge our phones, because everybody's phone was like dying or dead and nobody could get in contact with their loved ones. And so it was just this need for the electricity was what brought us together. And we all sat there and started sharing the food that we had been traveling with. Because again, we couldn't buy any food because you couldn't check out. You could only use cash. And the restaurants ended up throwing everything away that was refrigerated, health and safety. So you could buy bag chips.
Oh my gosh.
You couldn't use the vending machines, right? If you had cash. And so we all just started sharing, jelly beans and chips and, whatnots. But then we all just, I don't even know how it started, but we just started singing Christmas carols. Mm. And it was this beautiful experience of a whole group of strangers with all different backgrounds just coming together and creating a joyful experience. And it wasn't just that group of people, because as we sang, it went throughout the terminal. And people would walk by and stop and listen or, start singing with us.
That's cool.
And I was just thinking about how meaningful, however brief that was, how meaningful those connections were in that moment to get us through this otherwise really poor experience.
Right.
And it's not like we stayed friends or communicated afterwards, but we came together as a group to lift each other up and choose joy and happiness in that moment and give other people, unawareingly, other people an opportunity to also choose that as well and be a part of it. And so, I just think it's the opportunity for connection is everywhere.
Yeah.
And, it makes me think about my job as a nurse. And that is one of my favorite aspects about that career was the care and the connection with people. It didn't matter how long or how short I was caring for that person. It just mattered that I got to do that for them.
I'll be honest with you. I think that is my favorite aspect of what we do for designing for homes, right? Or decorating for homes, is that we're creating a space for them where they feel safe and comfortable and themselves. And that's my favorite part of it is seeing that kind of connection with people. I can't go into the details of my other job because I don't share that here, but those connections there is the people that report to me.
Yeah.
You know, I get to be a part of their lives and I get to help them make really good decisions and grow. And so that makes me really happy.
Yeah.
So those relationships are very important to me.
So I guess before we move on,
Yeah.
you know, I just want to encourage you to take a moment to really just reflect. What brings you joy? What do you think would bring you happiness? And then think on that some more. Like, would that really bring you joy, or would that just help relieve a level of stress?
Yeah.
Because I mean,
solid point.
because reality is like our lives will never be 100% stress free. Stress is helpful to some degree. It motivates, it gets us moving, but stress can also be a chronic issue and it can wreak havoc in your body. And so I just want to encourage you not to get confused with what will bring you happiness and what will reduce your stress.
Beautiful. Very well said, babe. So, oh yeah, we do something. You know what we do? We do this really cool thing called the collective card reading.
So today we are using the Soulful Woman Guidance cards by Shushan Movasani. I'm sorry if I butchered that name. I'm human. I'm not perfect, but I am going to move this box out of the way because these cards are huge.
They are. They're really big. I was having fun shuffling them because of their size. I'm just gonna stop. I'm gonna stop talking.
I did think it was funny that you chose a red deck. And not even being aware that we're both wearing red. We didn't coordinate this at all. We went opposite. I'm wearing red pants. You're wearing a red shirt. Yeah, it was just funny coincidence. Red is deeply connected with the root chakra, with life force energy, with passion, with drive.
Makes a lot of sense right now. Yeah.
Remember, passion can be anger. It can also be, happiness too. Yep. So it's just the intensity of the emotion. So we are going to start with card number 1. The flow of partnership.
Oh, this is so weird.
Also, she's in red.
And I did say when shuffling these cards, I would like to keep these cards connected with the topic that we have for today in relation to happiness. So
beautiful. At the bottom, this says the ebb and flow of relationship takes me where I need to be next on my path. So why do we think that, close connections are what brings us happiness?
I think it's an exchange of energy. I think it's an exchange of love. I am that person that believes so fully that our entire base is love. This is where we come from, right? And I mean, I've seen it. And so it's just kind of like, this is when I feel that from someone else, when I exchange that with someone else, even if it's a complete stranger and it's just that micro moment, like in an airport, right? Like, there's no greater feeling than the feeling of being back into your source connection. And I think when we're in communities or when we're exchanging that with others, because we all come from that same place, it intensifies and it allows that remembrance, even if that's not what your focus is, right? That's why I think it's like that. But
I was thinking about, partnership. How for me that speaks to like support and care and teamwork and not feeling alone in this world when you're trying to move forward. Now, don't get me wrong, like people being alone can be perfectly happy. It doesn't mean that they're feeling lonely. But you can feel lonely in a crowd.
Yeah.
Right. But when you're with somebody that you feel supported by and cared for by, like that just changes the whole dynamic.
It does. Absolutely, it does.
And in a sense, it carries you forward. like the card says.
Look at that.
Card number 2.
Oh,
Princess Charming.
that's awesome. And if you guys want to see these cards, we encourage you. We used to try to describe it, but it's really weird for those that watch us on YouTube for that. So if you want
It's also very difficult for some of these cards.
Yeah, it is, because they're quite detailed. So if you guys want to see these cards and you're listening to us on the audio only platforms, please hop on over to our YouTube channel at Love Always Self.
Surprise.
Super simple.
So Princess Charming, at the bottom of this card, it says, I take the horse by the reins and become my own Princess Charming, taking care of my own needs. It's so funny that we were talking about lassos, reins earlier.
Yeah, lassos.
So I'm thinking about the story that you told and how you took the reins and you were sitting there on the horse, not sure what to do. And you recognized the tool that you had to meditate as a form of calming you down and connecting with the horse.
Yeah.
And so that's literally the visual that I got when I was reading that.
That's super cool. Mm-hmm. Plus, she kind of looks like me a little bit. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Gorgeous. I think she's, I think that the charm that we have within ourselves, like just kind of slightly focusing on that particular word, a lot of our happiness sometimes we thought was best done because of how we feel we need to be towards other people. But I'll be 100% honest with you. What I have come to discover in my lifetime, 40 plus years, is that it's how I feel. One of the things, and I'll just be completely transparent about this, and can't believe I'm talking about this right now, but like I am dealing with my weight gain, right? And in dealing with my weight gain, I remember talking to my parents just yesterday, and I said, I saw all the pictures because we're all sharing a shared album from the photos of our trip. And I had no idea that I was that size. I don't see myself that way. I don't look in the mirror every day and say, you're overweight. I do what I can to provide myself with self-love. So my perspective of me is completely different than what that damn camera showed me. Now, do I want to take better care of myself so I can live a longer, healthier lifestyle? Absolutely, I do.
Selfishly, yes, please.
But I don't see myself in that way. I don't see myself in this negative light. And so it was shocking to me to go and look at those photos and see what I saw. And I thought that was interesting. But I also am practicing self-love. We are here teaching the self-love. Now, I'm not saying go out and completely ignore anything that you need to take care of, like I'm now taking care of, right? But I am saying that like the way we perceive others could just be the judgments that we've been trained to have, right? Or the way we perceive ourselves is allowing the judgment of other people to sink in. So be charming to yourself. There you go.
And, in taking care of my own needs, I agree with you. I think that was beautiful what you said. I don't want to just like roll right over that.
Okay, thanks.
Jumping on the tail of that.
Yeah.
Remembering to prioritize your needs and not put everybody else's needs above you. I'm not saying that there aren't times where that has to be a little more fluid, because those with kids, those with, aging parents, people that are dependent on this, it's a lot harder to say, I always put myself first, right? It's just not feasible. It's not realistic. But when you can pause and take time for yourself, go fill your water bottle, order you a lunch and eat it. Go for a walk. Take care of yourself too. Otherwise, you will deplete and not be able to take care of those that depend on you as well.
Very true. It's a lot easier to give when your cup's already full.
Amen to that. All right, card number 3.
Oh, wow.
Feminine law of attraction.
Is it just me or is that card like widely different than the other two?
Yes.
Okay.
The statement underneath feminine law of attraction states, I love the creative adventure that is my life. I celebrate my life as a female creator.
That is so cool. Were we not talking about that earlier?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But I think this is also recognizing that every life is an adventure. You are choosing your adventures that you get to go on.
It's literally a choose your own adventure book.
Yeah. Big and small. And I mean, those adventures could be like, again, walking down the street, or it could be going to Sayulita, Mexico.
Yeah.
It could be going to a grocery store or a convenience store. Like it's all about your perspective. Do you make it an adventure?
Yeah.
Adventure. Say you run out of gas on the side of a road. Adventure. That may not have been a conscious choice, but it was still a choice somewhere along the way not to stop and refill your gas tank earlier. So
I can't help it, but the first thought in my head is when her house was flooding. She had to move all of her furniture. Her rug was soaked and was the stopgap for the water to continue. And what she sends to me was so much room for activities. Like, okay, she's staying in a positive light and she's on her own adventure at the moment. Okie dokie.
When you have to deal with a flood the second time around, I don't know, it was a little bit easier. You realize what you can and can't do about it.
It's one of those moments that I'm sitting here so worried because there's no way for me to get to you and help you out because of how bad that storm was. And I was like, and your text message back was a picture of the empty living room. Look, so much room for activities. It's like, oh my God. Moments that I'll cherish forever.
But I tell you what, that laughter made it easier to continue to pick up the mess.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
We do our best.
There are things that you are so much better at than I am. That's
we all have our own skills.
That's going to be one of them, just so we're clear. Oh my gosh. Well, speaking on things that really do make us happy, clearly, because we got pretty darn giddy at the last moment of it. Feel free to like, subscribe, hit the notification bells. I'm sure you're very annoyed when people say this, but it actually helps us. So thank you so much. We have social media. You can actually find us or follow us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube Shorts. And we also have a website. www.
lovealwaysself.com.
I'm old, man. Whatever. Hey, you know what? The fact that I still say www. It brings me joy. I'm going to continue saying it. Why not?
But before we head out, as promised, we want to introduce this new segment to you.
Yes. Oh, gosh.
And we just want to present a couple of really positive, uplifting stories. The basis of these stories, right? It doesn't necessarily mean that they're big, impactful, like everybody's happy now on this side of the world. No. What we want to see is these stories that bring us joy in these, these little moments that uplift us, that make us feel like, okay, we still have hope for humanity. And I do want to start off by saying we would love it if you find stories, around your area that you would love to share. We would love to hear about them. Please send those to us with the link to contact@lovealwaysself.com. Okay?
Yay.
And we will present on here. Plus, we love reading these. And I tell you what, looking for these stories, I've been doing this for about, a week, reviewing. And it was really disappointing to see like how few news programs actually present positive stories or share positive stories. And so it took a little bit of a deep dive. There are some good places like goodnews.com. That's kind of nice, or positivenews.com, one of those. And then a couple of, the broadcast channels will present one every once in a while, but it just feels like it's so uneven.
It is.
The scales are so sorely tipped towards the extreme, fear-based ruckus.
So let's level that playing field, shall we?
Yes, and that is our goal here today. So one of the stories that I found, it's on the Good News Network, and we'll link the article below. But the title of this is "Teen Who Was Told He Would Never Walk with Cerebral Palsy Just Took First Place in a Bodybuilding Competition."
Oh. I love that. Oh my gosh.
Now, I love this for a couple reasons. The main one being that he was told by medical professionals there were limitations that were told to him that he would always have. And he basically said, no, I'm good. Thank you. But I don't agree. And I'm not saying that there's, not a high likelihood of people that receive this information that just accept it.
Yeah.
But just being willing to question those perceived limitations and push past them.
I think that's beautiful. I think it's beautiful because we have to start remembering how powerful we are, and things that can come about when we remember that, and when we actually practice that.
What this reminded me of is the limitations that we constantly place on ourselves. And it's almost like, I don't want to say falsified, but sometimes we easily just roll over and say, oh, well, that must be it.
Yeah.
I can't do that because X, Y, and Z.
I'll be honest with you. For me, the first diagnosis I got when I got diagnosed with cervical cancer was very much a you're screwed situation. And I refused to believe that. I was like, nope, we're going to find a better way. Like the procedure that they were going to do first. So now I share that message, and you can actually go and find that entire conversation that I decided to share publicly, which was wild.
I just think it's so cool when people just overcome these obstacles.
Yeah.
And it's not always about the final destination of overcoming it, but it's also about the journey in between and the building up of the well-being that you have for yourself, the self-care that you have, the self-love, and this level of, well, I will love myself no matter what, but I'm also going to push myself because I feel like I can. So not letting other people tell you you can't.
What a beautiful story.
If you want to read the full article, linked below.
Yep. And the good news one we mentioned already earlier in our episode, it is I believe it's an Instagram story, and it's an Instagram video, and that Instagram video was it is done by the Rainmaker family, and it's called, This Kid Has It Figured Out Better Than Most Adults. And that's the one where we talked about with the shoes.
The branding.
Right. And man, are these children coming in so much smarter than us. Oh my gosh.
It's more about the intangibles, right? We're taught with marketing when we grow up around other kids that believe that labels are important. It makes us feel lesser when we don't have those items, the Nikes, the Louis Vuittons, the bougie shit.
It's true. I like my bougie shit sometimes, but that's just me.
I'm going to find some half price bougie shit, but whatever. But it's recognizing that what you put on your body is not what gives you worth.
Very true. Very, very
It's
true.
what you carry in your head and your heart and how you pay that forward.
Absolutely. Oh man, I think today is probably one of my favorite conversations.
It was a lot of fun today.
Yeah, definitely a lot of fun. And we hope you guys had fun too. I hope you gained something from today's episode. Again, feel free to leave those stories, those good news, positive stories.
Yes, please send those to us. I would love your help with that. Again, the email is contact@lovealwaysself.com.
And we love you all so, so much. We are extremely grateful for every single one of you. And we hope you have one of the best futures possible.
Thank you for connecting with us. We love you so much. And don't forget to love first.
Love last.
And love always.
Bye
y'all.
Everybody.
Hey, listener, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us in this moment. We hope you enjoyed today's episode, and we look forward to our next connection.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow to stay notified of new content from Love Always Self. If you have any questions or topics you'd like for us to discuss, please hit us up on any of our social media platforms linked in the show notes below.
I'm Karista.
And I'm Shyra.
And until next time, remember to love first,
love last,
and love always. Love Always Self podcast is meant for entertainment purposes only. We do not make any warranties about the completeness, reliability, and accuracy of the information presented in this podcast. Any action you choose to take upon the information in this podcast is strictly done so at your own risk, and we will not be held liable for any losses and damages in connection with the use of our podcast. Any and all medical concerns should be addressed with a licensed healthcare provider, as well as any questions that may be derived from the information discussed in this podcast.